Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Billy. Today I would like to share with you two shirt dresses that are derived from the surfing dog print dress that I talked about in video 57, and also from the linen and the rayon viscose dresses from video 58. So the first dress that I will share with you today is this one here, made from 2 yards of about 43-inch wide silk that I purchased from Move Fabrics in New York City's Garment District about 2.5 years ago. So here is a close-up of the print and also the texture itself. So the color, I think, is a sort of a light shade of blue with very small polka dot prints. So as you can see here, so this is what it looks like. So after the viscose rayon dress from video 58, I really love that dress, and so I wanted to try making the same shirt dress in a silk fabric. And so as I was going through my stash, I decided that this would be a really good choice for that. However, I only had 2 yards of this fabric, and this is a standard silk fabric, so it's a fairly narrow, about 43 inches wide. So generally that was just not enough at all to cut out that shirt dress. But I was really determined to make the dress out of this fabric. So I just played around with the pattern pieces and determined that if I bring in the skirt a bit by about 2 inches on either side, I should be able to fit all the pattern pieces on this fabric. And since this skirt is a bit of a quarter circle skirt, so I figure it would not be affected too much by bringing that in. And so I'm happy to report that it worked out wonderfully. So what I did was here. So basically, like this is a skirt. So then I brought in the original pattern piece, like the side, the edge of both the front skirt and the back skirt, just kind of in like this, go from this to this by about 2 inches on either side. And I didn't change the waist line, or the waist circumference. So I just kind of smoothed it out to the new sort of hem area, and that works out great. So I am very happy about that one. And also after I cut out everything, including the matching belt, I actually have a little bit of leftover, miraculously, on the width-wise of the fabric. So I decided to make this sort of a bow tie piece, and so this is what happened. So you can see here is a bow tie. I just really love it. Otherwise, this dress is exactly the same as the other dresses from video 57 and also video 58. I recently lost some of the COVID weight that I put on, and as a result, now this bodice doesn't fit as well as before I lost the weight. So as you can see here, it seems like a little bit, doesn't sit so smoothly like this, but I decided not to change it for now. If I really lost all the weight, then I would go back and fix the bust darts. But basically what I need to do is just kind of move the bust dart from this to kind of a bit lower, move it down without changing the bust dart size. And that normally seems to work very well for me. So in the meantime, I would just kind of pull it down. And so I have a very smooth front. And then the back will be a bit more gathered here, just so that I would have a smooth front and side. Since most people only look at you from the front anyway, so that is okay. I lined this dress with 2 yards of white China silk that I have at home, and originally I was concerned that the white may not work so great for this, but actually it turns out works great. So overall I am very happy about how it turned out. And even though I line this dress with lining, I still feel this dress is a little translucent ever so slightly. And so I just have to remember that I would need to wear undergarments in nude. So, very close to my skin tone. So then I would not show any kind of undergarment through the lining and also the silk. The goal that I have for my own dressmaking is that the quality of the garments that I produce should be of comparable quality to the ready-to-wear lines of either haute couture houses or at least very expensive brands. And so every so often I will go on the websites that sell these very expensive garments, such as say Knit a Porter or say Saks Fifth Avenue's website or Bloomingdale's website. And so recently I went on these websites just to see what kind of silk dresses would go for. And I was, I didn't go through every single silk dresses on these websites, but I spent maybe 5-10 minutes on each website, and I was only able to find one silk dress that is also lined with 100% silk. Everything else, regardless of the price point, one even was as high as $10,000 for that dress. None of them lined their dresses with 100% silk. There were actually several of them that lined their silk dresses with polyester. And I just thought that was such an odd choice because polyester, being a 100% man-made material, does not breathe. And so if you line the lining with something that doesn't breathe, that seems to defeat the purpose of having a silk dress, on the exterior. And or more often they just line their silk dresses with say viscose rayon. And I fail to understand that when somebody charges, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a dress, they could even bother lining their silk dresses with silk. And the only explanation that I can think of is that it's a pure cost cutting consideration. And I just fail to understand, especially the labor is exactly the same. And so all they did was replacing silk with a cheaper fabric. And but for example, the entire outfit that I'm showing you today cost me just about $50. And I'm buying everything at full retail. And presumably these people will buy everything at wholesale price. So if this thing only costs $50 and the silk lining cost me about $20, for sure they are trying to save that $20 to bring it down to maybe $1 or $5 at most. By using inferior materials, I feel that these brands in a way are cheapening themselves. But of course, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think I'm their targeted audience anyway, because my budget does not allow me to spend several $1,000s on a dress. So I think it probably all works out just fine. So here is a quick video of this silk dress, and I paired the dress with a pair of 3.5-inch heels in mahogany that I dyed myself from a bright red. And for more details about how I dye my shoes, please refer to my video 25. But overall, I'm really happy about how this dress turned out. In a way, it has a little bit of a 1940s vibe. If the skirt were just a little bit narrower, kind of like bring it in ever so slightly. But overall, I'm really happy about this dress. It just, being silk I think silk is probably my favorite fabric. I just love how comfortable it is on the skin and just so light. It's just really wonderful. The second dress that I will share with you today is this dress here, made from 2 yards of about 55-inch wide cotton poplin that I purchased from Amazon.com. And so here's a close-up of the print. It's a little bit of a, I think, kind of a military sort of camouflage looking print, even though it is not a camouflage print. And so here, so for this dress, you can see it's a bit more rounded collar with ruffles, shorter sleeves, and also a narrower skirt with ruffles at the end here. The design of this dress, it was 100% unplanned. Even though I am very happy how it turned out, this was not what I had originally set out to make. So what happened was, originally I cut out this dress exactly the same as the surfing doll print or the linen and the viscose rayon dresses. But after the success of the light blue silk dress, I saw that maybe I would bring in the skirt a little bit a bit closer. So it's a bit more of a straight silhouette. But I was not going for the pencil skirt look. I just wanted to be a little bit more straight in the silhouette. And so without doing any testing, I just narrowed the skirt, bring it in by another 2 inches from the silk dress. So by now, a total of 4 inches on either side. And the idea was that, I'm not changing the center front, and the center front was cut on the grain. So I figured it should not affect, too much. But boy, was I in for a surprise, and not in a good kind. So originally I just went ahead and added the inseam pockets and everything, painstakingly made sure everything lined up so the pockets are exactly inseam. Then after I made the outer shell, I tried it on. The whole silhouette was totally wrong. The dress just looks so weird. And the skirt portion just looked really weird. And also, because now it's narrower, the inseam pocket really didn't have any place for my hands to go, because then there's not a whole lot of room. So really, inseam pockets are completely wrong for skirts that are a little bit more fitted. And so okay, fine. So I just unpicked the pockets and sewed it back in, figured that should work. But it still did not work at all. It still looked weird and just not something I would ever wear. So I tried to kind of pinch it in, kind of like pinch, whatever, to see if I could change the silhouette a bit, where I could get the dress to be something that is acceptable to me. And I couldn't. So I finally decided to just unpick the whole skirt and go from sort of figure out what I would do. And I do not like to just give up on the project. And I figured this project was still salvageable. But of course, by now I have a fairly, because the skirt was already cut out, I had to work with what I had. And because the originally was a bit of a circle skirt, so the waist is fairly narrow and then fans out. And the only option I could, have is to turn it into a bit of a pencil skirt. And I now turn to my trusty New Look 6843 because it does also have a pencil skirt option. And I previously used that pencil skirt for some of my dresses that I made, I think 2 summers ago. And I was overall very happy with how they turned out. So I thought I would use the same pencil skirt pattern piece. However, because obviously they're cut completely different, so to cut out that pencil skirt, I ended up having to shorten the skirt by about, I would say about this much, so maybe about 4 inches. So then, and because obviously the darts, for that skirt were not designed to line up with the darts of this bodice. So what I did was just sewed up the side seams, and then just sort of a gap, just sort of try to match up the skirt dart with the dart of the bodice. I tried on this dress after I finished the outer shell, but before I added constructed the pockets. And this dress was just really too short. It's almost borderline too short for work. And so I had to figure out a way to lengthen the skirt portion. And fortunately, I still have, about 0.2 yards of this fabric left. So what I decided to do was just to add about 2 inches of ruffles. And so that's what I ended up doing. So as you can see here, so these are the ruffles. And I didn't want to make them too wide because I figured 2 inches is kind of proportionate. And also by now, since it's a pencil skirt, and traditionally I like my pencil skirt to fall just above the knees. If it's at the knee or lower, I don't think it's flattering for me because I'm not a particularly tall person. Standard size, 5'5" in height. And so overall I'm quite happy about this ruffles. But then I realized that the ruffles, is a bit of a girly design feature. So then if I kept the original sort of mid-length sleeves and also the pointed collar, they would look wrong as part of the dress. The ruffles will almost look like an afterthought. So I needed to add a ruffling detail to either the collar or the sleeves. And I decided the pointed collar just would not work for the ruffles, so I decided to change it. So what I did was I round out the points of the collar, because by now I already cut out everything already. So what I did was I just cut out the points so it's rounded out, and then added the ruffle pieces. And for the ruffle pieces, I just measured the circumference of the collar, at the sewing line. So that gives me the actual piece of the collar. And then for the ruffle piece is 40% to 50% longer. So it's either 1.4 times or 1.45 times of the total length of the collar piece. And that's how I get this sort of a muted but still enough sort of ruffling. And for the skirt ruffling, I just did 1.5 times because that was the exact width of this fabric. And so for all, I am very happy how it turned out. And then also I decided that once with this combination, the skirt should be much shorter, so everything will look proportionate. And so I shortened the sleeves by 1.5 inches. After I finished the entire dress, lined it and everything is finished, I tried it on, and the wrinkles on the side seams that I mentioned earlier looked a lot worse, especially on my left side. And it just really looked awful. It was like a lot of drag lines going down, this is the center, the side seams, and just go down this way. It looked really awful, and I was trying to figure out how to fix it because the whole skirt is a bit of a made on the fly. It was just not a tested kind of a pattern, and so I was trying to figure out how to do it, and I couldn't quite figure out. So out of desperation, I decided to just unpick sort of the cross section, like here, so this is the waist seam, so about 4 inches on either side of the bodice, this way, and also the skirt, and also 4 inches. So this is like, a cross section. So I unpicked that, then I tried it back on. And the idea is that I will let the fabric pieces fall where they want to go. And then it turns out once I unpicked the seams and tried it on, they were able to fall where they wanted to go, and I was able to get a smooth side seams. And so what I did was I would just sort of press down, so then to mark the seam line. And after that, I pinned the seam line that I marked and tried it on. And I said, okay, I need to make a bit further adjustments. So I made a mental note of it. And then I basted the sewing line and tried it on again. And then I was happy with how it would fit. Then I just sewed it across. And but because I changed this dress, somehow the bodice needed to be changed also, because as I mentioned earlier, I lost a little bit of weight, and it didn't look so bad in that sew dress, but for this one it just looked off. So I really had to move down the dart legs of this dress, and that in a way changes a little bit of the silhouette of this dress. So this bodice is a bit more fitted than the silk dress, but still perfectly comfortable. And so here, so this is kind of what happened here. So here, let me just remove the belt so you will be able to see. So now see, it fits, I think overall is probably as good as it's going to get. So overall it's smooth. And I had to do the same thing also for the right side. But right side, it just wasn't as wrinkled as the left side earlier. And I knew my body was not perfectly symmetrical, because I know my right hip is half an inch higher than my left hip. And this is from years of doing ballets when I was younger. So it is what it is. So then I had to make similar changes, but just a little different for my right side. And so now it works out great. So see here, so overall, I am quite happy of how it turned out. So I'm happy that this, works out of desperation. So really just the lesson learned here is really let the fabric guide you, when you're not sure what to do next to achieve the proper fit. And I'm really glad that it worked out this way, because then if it didn't work out, I would in a way have to probably wouldn't abandon the whole project. I would probably just buy another yard or two of the same fabric from Amazon, so I can just recut a new skirt to attach to this bodice. So here is a quick video of this more fitted dress, and I also paired this dress with the same mahogany heels. And overall, I am really happy how this turned out. It really was such an ordeal to get this thing done, but I am really glad I persevered and got it done to a state where I am happy to wear it. So overall is a success in the exercise of patience and perseverance. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. So please do stay safe, be well, and I hope I will see you soon. Bye-bye.